Serving from the middle of the Cylon War until well into the post-war period, the Mark II Viper was the capable backbone of colonial fighter formations, being a marked improvement over preceding types at its introduction. Using the Mark I as its basis, the Mark II incorporated improved and more efficient thrust units, greater range, and larger ammunition carrying capacity, all while making major improvements over the Mark I in terms of speed and maneuverability. The craft has a length of 10.6 meters, width of 6.7, and height with landing gear of 3.8 meters. Carrying a single occupant, the craft is armed with two 30mm autocannon and 4 hardpoints for missiles located on the craft's wings. Primarily designed for space superiority missions, the craft did have a limited capability for atmospheric operations when the circumstances required it. Throughout the first few years of the First Cylon War, the colonial fleet, only recently unified into a single entity, struggled to combat Cylon raiders, which were often more agile and heavily armed than their colonial counterparts. The first Mark of Vipers was designed to counteract these deficiencies, but were compromised thanks to a reliance on only the most primitive of flight computers to avoid Cylon hacking. The Mark II thus benefited from the inclusion of a more advanced, though still basic, avionics set. Capable of greater calculation, speed, and power management, this system, as well as a host of minor improvements, allowed the Mark II to greatly surpass its predecessors in agility and control, while still remaining nearly impossible for the Cylons to hack. Introduced during the mid-war, the Mark II Viper was a godsend to colonial fighter squadrons, allowing pilots of the colonial fleet to finally begin to turn the tide and achieve, at least locally, space superiority against Cylon forces. Eventually becoming the gold standard within colonial fleet, the Mark II served as the mainstay fighter during the remainder of the First Cylon War. Intended as a space superiority fighter, it was realized fairly quickly that it was not well suited to performing general strike missions, as the Viper lacked the necessary carrying capacity. However, the introduction of the Raptor series alleviated these limitations nicely, though a fully loaded Raptor would still need to be escorted by a flight of Vipers if it hoped to survive enemy fighter attacks when operating in hostile or contested areas. The Viper-Raptor combination would permit colonial formations to operate at longer distances out from their motherships, with the Raptor's onboard sensors able to augment the admittedly limited instruments aboard the Mark II, while the Viper's speed and agility in a dogfight could overcome most Cylon small craft. By the war's end, this combination had become drilled into colonial fleet doctrine and would continue to see refinement in the post-war years. Still in production with the war's end despite the introduction of more modern marks of Viper, the Mark II continued in service into the post-war. However, the type would have been generally phased out of service by the time of the Second Cylon War and the fall of the 12 colonies of Kobol. Entering service at a time when desperately needed by the colonial fleet, the Viper Mark II provided a capable and highly effective platform which allowed colonial squadrons to gradually claw back space superiority from the Cylons as the war progressed, remaining an enduring symbol of the colonials' resilience against the threat posed by the mechanical Cylon forces long into the post-war period. Thank you for watching this video. As I found out from the last video, there's a remarkable number of people that stick around for these incoherent, what would be a good word? Not speeches, tirades at the end of videos, so I'll try to keep these interesting from here on out. I don't have too much to talk about, so there goes that idea. Let's see. Oh, I added to the channel's Patreon video or pictures for the videos. So they're free. You don't have to be a member to get them. I am pretty sure I did that correctly. You should be able to follow the link, I think, that's in the description. And you should be able to download the pictures that I've made for videos for like a year now. Everything from, Battlestar Galactica to, what's a sci-fi franchise that starts with a Z? The Cubid Zircon. No, that's not it. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff out there, and of course there's going to be more. So you don't have to join the Patreon, but follow the link and there should be posts with those pictures if that's something that you want. You might not. I mean, you might. I don't particularly care. I like making the pictures, so if you want them, go for it. But yeah, they are there. I also renamed the Patreon tiers to be a little more sensical because there was shuttle and then frigate tier, and it didn't make too much sense because there was nothing beyond frigate. So now frigate is the lowest and cruiser is the biggest. So yeah, I mean, that's the only newsworthy thing that's happened. Riveting. I mean, the people that stick around, I definitely see why. I've bored myself. Anyway, to keep this video, this end bit from being longer than the video itself, I'm going to end it here. So have a lovely day.